Hello and welcome back to another video. After a long while, at least to me, I'm going to come back with another piece of content, almost wrapping up the month of March, and I wanted to wrap up strong, and I wanted to talk about Representative Matt Gaetz' relationship with a minor, potentially, and I also want to preface the video by saying that I want to thank you for the progress so far on the channel. I've been away. I could not upload for several days for private reasons. So, technical difficulties, folks, I guess. Anyways, I'm going to be telling you a lot about Representative Gaetz. Now, he's been known as a pro-MAGA guy, extremely pro-MAGA. That's part of the grift or the persona, okay? Now, he has been denying this supposed allegation by the DOJ by saying that it's verifiably false that I've traveled with a 17-year-old woman. The Florida Republican told Politico in a text message, "These are lines rooted in extortion." So he's saying he's being extorted, which is a pretty big claim. Now, the accusation was that he had a relationship with an underage teenager. Not very underage, 17, but at the same time he is 38, so this is a person that's over 20 years younger than him. And I'm not one to talk, I'm not even close to 38, so I have no idea what it's like to be that age. Would I be attracted to teenagers then? I can't relate, frankly, so it seems like a bad thing, though. Now, if we move on to the past several weeks, he claims that his family has been the victim of an organized criminal extortion effort, including a former Department of Justice official seeking about $25 million to extort out of him while threatening to smear his name, okay? And he alleges all this in a Twitter thread. His family has been cooperating with federal authorities, he claims, adding that his father has been wearing a wire at the FBI's discretion to catch these criminals, which seems really weird. He said a Tuesday report by the New York Times was an attempt to thwart the investigation and demanded that the Justice Department release his recordings to clear his name, which is weird. So apparently it means that he has a lot of stuff that is, that people don't know about that is supposedly going to exonerate him, so we'll see. So he did an interview with Tucker Carlson today, saying that the 17-year-old doesn't exist and that his father was supposed to pay a $4.5 million down payment to the former Justice Department official, whom he named on the show on Wednesday to make the allegations go away. But, as Gaetz explained the complex extortion plot, which he included non-existent pictures of him with child prostitutes, even Carlson seemed to be confused, especially over the sex trafficking charge that the congressman flatly denied. Again, for the fifth time, I don't really understand this story very well, Carlson said. That was one of the weirdest interviews I've ever conducted, the Fox News host said when the show came from the commercial break. Don't quite understand why, but we will bring more as we find out, he added. So, apparently he botched the interview, left Tucker confused, and as you know, Tucker makes a confused face like so that'd be fun to watch. Gaetz had even said to Axios earlier today that he was unclear about the specifics of the allegations that were being made against him and said that he was told very little, although he was very sure that he didn't get in with anybody that was underage, which I think is interesting. Now, the denials follow a Times report today saying that the Justice Department was investigating whether or not a lawmaker, a Trump loyalist, had sex with, a sexual relationship with the 17-year-old and paid her to travel with him across state lines. So that's pretty interesting. Those actions could violate federal sex trafficking laws, according to the Times, which cited 3 people briefed on the matter. No charges have been brought against Gaetz, according to this report. Now, what I find interesting of this is that they're calling it trafficking when it's hypothetically him just flying a girl from one state to the other one. And in my mind, I don't think that's a bad thing insofar as, if you're going to do the deed, you flying her over a state isn't going to change anything. As far as I know, that's not a big deal. Now, if you're like Jeffrey Epstein and you're flying in like 20 teenagers at a time, well then that's something. But, one girl, you move her over a state, is that really sex trafficking? Like, when you think about it in your head, is that what you think of? That's, being liberal with the definition. So, that's not good. Now, the way that he responds to this is really interesting to me, because he's saying, well, I can assure you that there was no 17-year-old. And it's like, well, that's not the question. The question is, like, are you a pervert that flies girls over to hotel rooms? Because that's really telling of your character, first of all. It's unbecoming of a conservative congressman to do that. And he makes the party look bad when we're supposed to be the social conservatives, and yet we have all these drunkards and people that support weed and are gay, or are in the closet, or are promiscuous and stuff like this. It's not a good look, and frankly, maybe it has nothing to do with how competent he is as a federal employee or as a congressman, but it does show that he has a lack of character and has impulse controls problems. Bill Clinton did a fine job as president insofar as competency, yet his sexual deviancy did not help, and it complicated things further than they needed to be. Same could be said about Anthony Weiner and a lot of other people that would be otherwise deemed as competent individuals and yet have these character flaws that not only leave them open to attacks but also show that they are perverted, and that's an ugly thing to have going on. So, not looking good. There's also the whole the thing with the Cuban son. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but people are making gay insinuations, and I don't think that's a problem. But we'll see. Two of these sources told the Times that the investigation, focusing on events that took place about 2 years ago, began toward the close of the Trump presidency. Okay, whatever. The investigation into Gaetz is part of a larger investigation into former local Florida official and Gaetz ally Joel Greenberg, who was indicted last summer on charges that included sex trafficking of a minor, so that looks pretty bad. In response to the report, this Asian guy that I really freaking hate, this impeachment guy, Ted Lieu, Democrat of California, called for Gaetz' removal from the House Judiciary Committee, which is rich because Swalwell slept with the Fang Fang double agent. So we'll see what happens there. Well, not double agent, just an agent of China, which oversees the Justice Department pending the conclusion of the investigation. Gaetz pushed back on the Fox interview, however, and implied that he might be the victim of a partisan plot, especially given the image as an outspoken conservative firebrand. This very well may be the case, but ultimately, maybe he's using that as a crutch. Who knows? Okay, so then here's a quote. I believe we are in an era of our politics now, Tucker, where people are smeared to try to take them out of the conversation, he said. Axios had reported on Tuesday that Gaetz was considering an early retirement from Congress to take a job at Newsmax. Interesting. Well, so that's the political story, and I like the Politico format. Not as bad as CNN, and it is biased, of course, but I like the format. It's very basic and clean. Yeah, I mean, to wrap this up, I basically think that this is a really dumb thing that he did. Assuming that, look, here's the thing. The way that he worded his response, he's basically hedging it, saying that, okay, maybe I did sleep with a lot of girls, but ultimately none of them were underage. And yes, the left cares only if they are underage. I get that. But again, in my personal opinion, even if he was sleeping with just 18-year-olds, I think that's creepy and I think that's bad. And, other people say, well, she's 17, it's illegal. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, but what's the big difference between a guy who's 38 and a girl that's 17 or 18? That's virtually the same thing. And the principle is also similar, as it's like, there's a subset of guys that are creepy and like go after barely legal girls. And just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's morally okay. And I think that it's just a secular way of looking at it, of like, oh, well, the arbitrary age this. It's like, no, it isn't. It shouldn't be that way. It's, maturation, and a lot of other factors that are contributing, and I don't think that it's appropriate for a guy that's pushing 40 to be with a girl that's a teenager. I think that's weird, and that's assuming that this allegation is true. But even if it isn't true, it's probably also the case, if I had to guess, that he's sleeping with other women that are substantially younger. I think that's a little weird. Now, anything, over 25 is fine, I guess, but, under that is like, okay, that's... Again, what am I, I'm a teenager, so what am I going to know? I can't relate to this at all. It's very complex, and we'll see who throws him under the bus. We'll see if the Republicans coalesce behind Gaetz. I think that if they do band together, they'll effectively be able to protect him from this bullshit smear, assuming that it is BS, but we'll never really know. Of course, the DOJ, under the Biden administration, is going to try to target conservatives, just like how Obama's administration targeted conservative groups. 501(c)s or whatever, charities, stuff like this. So that's going to be a pain in the ass for a lot of people on the Republican side, and to discredit Matt Gaetz would be in the interest of a lot of people, including neocons like Liz Cheney. And yeah, I mean, Matt Gaetz doesn't seem like a pedo to me, but I'm not surprised if he does sleep with women outside of marriage and all that, stuff that's, like within the normal bounds of degeneracy and stuff that you're used to, which is unfortunate, but that's the case. I don't believe the accusation, but it does seem like, half true, which, a lot of allegations are frankly half true. but stretched, and to the detriment of everybody involved. So I think that he's mostly innocent in this case, but yeah, I don't think that he should be a representative of the conservative movement if he's going to be promiscuous. I think that's not a good look. It is unbecoming, and I just frankly don't see it as a good thing. It's not a virtue. It's gross. You shouldn't do that. Sleeping around stuff. That's probably not a good thing, especially when you're that age. But I will say this. He is mostly good on the issues. Now, what I will say is that he does fence it on the really America First side and just the MAGA side. And I don't know, man. This is kind of, Steve Bannon's also on that fence sitting, wagon. And he is definitely, he's done some weird porno stuff before. Don't look it up, man. It's weird. It's really weird what he did. A lot of these people in the conservative movement are really just like closeted, like Bohemian Grove stuff. And not even Bohemian Grove, but just like weird, like occult stuff. And just like, I think people in power are just weirdos sometimes, man. So yeah, we'll cover this as this goes on. And guys, comment down below what you want to see next. I really hope that it isn't true. I don't want us to be having a pedo among the ranks, but not only that, but I do care that that he doesn't get smeared if that is the case, and I hope it's not true. And we'll see what happens, but I'll keep you posted. I plan on uploading as soon as possible. I may or may not make a video tomorrow or the day after tomorrow about April Fools. Of course, it's going to be a joke video, satire, but I'll try to make it sort of realistic. I want to make it a little funny, right? So we're going to see what we do. If you comment down below, I'll almost definitely read it, and I'll see if what you want me to do for the April Fool's video, or maybe it should be a surprise. We'll see what happens. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Get me to 1,000 subs. That's the goal, of course. And anyways, goodbye.